Hey guys, it's been a while. Lately, people have been asking me about the state of the FPS Aim Trainer, and it's been over a year since I put a video out on it, so I'm a bit overdue giving this update, and I'm sorry. But a ton of progress is made on the game, and it's in a very good state right now. However, I do want to give the full story to make sure I'm not misleading anybody. My personal time is very limited at the moment, and it will continue to be so for the rest of the year. Basically, I'm doing a ton of overtime for a normal job, and that's not going to end until like early 2018, basically. There are a lot of changes that I'd like to make to this game and features that I want to add, but I will not be able to get to them anytime soon, unfortunately. Still, the game has been a very useful tool to players of all skill levels. My testers have done a great job providing feedback that I never would have thought of. We'll go into some of that soon. And I don't think you're going to find any other game out there with this level of customization available. A Steam release soon, in quotes, is possible, but that's kind of pending a gameplay trailer to go along with the release. So I'm working with a friend to get a gameplay trailer together, but both of us are quite limited in time, unfortunately. The offer of you purchase the game from me on PayPal for 10 bucks, then I'll give you a Steam key whenever it gets there. That's still valid, and the price on Steam is still planned to be 10 bucks. So let's talk about changes. First, as you probably know, everything in here is driven by profiles. So like my weapon is a profile, my character is a profile, the bot is running a profile that says he's this character and he's got these dodging profiles attached to him. He's got an aiming profile attached to him, all that fun stuff. It's a lot of files. So what I decided is if you wanted to distribute somebody, some settings that you came up with, you'd have to give them all those files and you'd have to put them in the right folders. That's no fun. So I made scenarios. Scenarios are a single thing here. Each of these is a single file that contains everything needed to run one of these. So for example, I'm going to take this Quake Champions practice scenario that CCAP made, and I changed it a little bit. I changed some of the scoring stuff and time up down to 30 seconds. So you can play it, and he kind of made it so that you've got a weapon that's a little bit like the Quake Champions lightning gun. A little bit thicker beam, it's a little harder to see through, it has these particle effects that are kind of in your eyes sometimes and blocking you from seeing. And the enemy, even though he has a variety of enemies here, he has big and small, and the big enemies, for as big as they are kind of hard to hit sometimes. Anyway, so afterwards you can see that I played this in a challenge mode, and it says challenge up here, and it says I did this much damage multiplied by 1 to get this number, and then it adds all these fields up and says this is the sum, and then it multiplies it by my damage efficiency here. So this is the damage that I did versus the damage I could have done with all the shots I fired. It's kind of like accuracy, but accuracy for rockets would be you shoot it, did it do damage? Yes, give it full credit. Damage efficiency, this one is more like you shot it, you did half the damage you could have, so give it a 50% instead. So I kind of like damage efficiency as a score multiplier afterwards. So it takes the subtotal, multiplies by 44%, gives me this final score, shows my high score as well. So that is a basic scenario. It's a challenge scenario, and you can also play it as free play. So free play is you can add more bots, you can set their teams, you can set the map, you can do whatever you want, all this stuff. So I'm gonna hop over here, and this is the profile manager. You'll see like these buttons, they both send you the same thing to the profile manager, same here, send you back to the game manager. These are profiles. So you can edit any one of these to do stuff that you want. This is the scenario editor. So if I look at Quake C, the Quake Champions thing, then over here and say, okay, this is the name of it. It is a challenge scenario. If it's not, then it hides these little fields over here. And it'll say the player can be this. Or you can add more options to the player and say the player can also be this. I'm not going to do that, but that's how you would. And then over here in the challenge tab, you're going to say this is the time limit, this is what the player is, this is how many lives he has, this is what the bots are, this is whether things are invincible or not, the map, these are just reflex map files, map size, and then you can set the scoring stuff, so you get 1 point for every point of damage. You can lose points whenever you take damage or die or get directed, and you multiply the final score by damage efficiency. So the trick here, also you notice this unpack tab. these are the files that are contained within the single scenario file. So if I wanted to edit this, what I'd probably do is I'd unpack every single one of these. So I'd click unpack on each of these, and I should probably add a button at the top that unpacks everything. But anyway, you unpack everything you want, and you go over here, you edit whatever you want. So like this one, if you want to make this do more or less damage, you change damage here for the lightning gun. Then you go back to the scenario after you change it, and you save it. Or you can save it and just run it immediately. So once you click save here, it grabs all the current copies of the profiles that are used for that scenario based on the stuff that you've chosen for like which player is here, which bots are here. It stuffs all the relevant stuff into that one scenario file, and then you can just give it to friends and it gives everything, including the map. So the map that you select here, this file gets stuffed into the scenario file as well. So the entire thing is going to be like less than 200 kilobytes, sorry, unless you have a huge map. So that is the scenario feature, and I think it works fantastically well. So another feature that people ask about all the time, mouse sensitivity. So over here you'll see we've got sensitivity scale. So if you're coming from Overwatch, you can enter this, you can toss in whatever your sensitivity is, boom, you're done. You don't need to measure anything. I can guarantee it's accurate because I have a script that I wrote that does a set number of mouse movements, and I go into one game, I press the button on the script, it runs it, it does a full 360, and if it didn't, then I tweak my sensitivity, and I use that to get the exact scale that I need between games. So these are accurate for the 3 games that I've listed here. MouseSensitivity.com is also very good for converting between games, but you know, over time I'll probably be adding more games to this. I'm just going to set this back. All right. So under player preferences, game options here, what you're going to find is weapons. This tab will show all the weapons that could possibly be used by the player based on what stuff you have loaded in. But there's a default one at the top. So if you haven't customized any of these specific weapons, it'll go by this. So you can have like size of the crosshair, crosshair color, mess with this all you want. You can change this crosshair, the image for it. And these are just PNG files. So if you go into the correct folder for this, did I say? Yeah. So this folder here, you can stick a crosshair file into it, go back into the game, you click here, and there it is. So you can add your own. Crosshair bloom is for whenever you have a spread weapon that kind of like has the random direction for shots, and then crosshair bloom will show you the range that the shots could end up in. Shoot sound. So these are just .ogg files. So you can stick your own shoot sound in there. Hit markers, you can turn those on or off. You can customize them just like a crosshair. Hit sound, hit head sounds, and head hit markers. You can do this however you want. And then you can do it per weapon. So like this lightning gun for Quake C, Quake Champions, I keep Quake C, that's totally a different thing. So you can have it use defaults, or you can have it not. And if you don't have it using defaults, you can change this stuff. You can override your sensitivity, you can override your FOV. So if you're using the aim trainer for different games, then you can have different sensitivities based on what weapons you're using, which is effectively different sensitivities between games. Same with FOV. And you'll also find, depending on the weapon, like this is a hit scan weapon, it has graphics, so you're given the option to hide the beam if you want. Oh yeah, so more stuff under options here. You'll find that there's a visuals tab. So here you can see the texture here. This is a list of textures, so you can change it to this, you can change it to that. A little hideous. We'll go with that. Then we can change this to like a grassy thing. Then you can change the roughness of it. So this is perfectly smooth, it's highly reflective, very metallic, and also reflective. You can play with these things, make it look different depending on whatever you're interested in. So some more options there. The high quality textures, this whenever you have it checked is the default, and it doesn't actually provide an improvement in frame rate by dropping it down, but kind of like PicMip from Quake. So if you turn it off, then it makes some textures look a bit less high quality, but not all of them. And then there's the colors tab, so you can customize like colors of enemies' head and body and teammate head and body. You can override it. You can make it so that all the attacks of enemies or teammates will be colored according to what you have down here. If these are not overridden, then it'll just use whatever is in the profile. So a lot of stuff you can customize there. Another thing you'll find is that, so say somebody makes a scenario and the character profile is going to have like, 8 weapons. So what if he puts a weapon here and this isn't the slot you normally use? Do you have to rebind your keys? Do you have to go under here and key bindings and change weapon? No, you don't. The answer is you click and drag. So you go, okay, I want my railgun to be on Q, I want my rocket launcher to be on E. And then it saves it per each character. So that way, whenever you come across a new scenario, you don't have to rebind things, you just click and drag between all the slots that are available down here to you. And the actual, these slots, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that is based on your key. So you set this once, you go, okay, these are the weapon bindings that I normally would press, and then there are abilities here, and all that stuff. So helps make it a little bit more streamlined. So talking about bot things, let's look into a basic bot. So like Quaker bot easy. This bot, this is all it's going to say. It's going to use the Quaker profile. So that's name, uses the Quaker profile. Very simple. You don't have to set anything because the Quaker profile defines like the movement, the physics, the weapons he has, all that stuff. The dodging profiles here, you can add more, you can add an infinite number of these, you can make them do whatever you want. You can weight them. So a weight means like here, if he changes profiles every 1 to 5 seconds, 3 out of 4 times he's going to pick this. 1 out of 4 times he's going to pick this. And weapons, same thing here. If you had multiple weapons, you could weight them differently. You can make him use different things. You can set the aiming profiles for what he'll use depending on the weapon that's out. So bots are pretty simple. And then what you'll find is one of my testers provided this great feedback. He said, is there a way to make it so that whenever a bot dies, he'll randomly pick another thing? Like, that's awesome. So I created bot rotations. And as it says here, it allows a bot to cycle through a bot profile on death, and it requires bot profiles to exist. So I go, okay, here's a bot rotation profile, I give it a name, I click on this, I click on that, and then whenever he dies, he'll pick one of these two. It's randomized, and if it is not randomized, then it'll just go straight down the list, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and you can add as many of these as you want. So that was a really cool feature. I completely forget who requested this, but it's, it is a very cool thing, and I'm glad he asked for it because I'm glad it's there now. So some other bot stuff, dodging thing. Now, you know what, I'll just add an easy bot real quick. Yeah. Set myself as a Quaker. Is he gonna shoot at me? Okay, yeah, and I'm invulnerable, so that's fine. So he's got a pretty easy dodging pattern. What I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna make him stop shooting so that distracting me. So most of the time he's doing this long strafe thing, but every now and then he decides to kind of circle strafe me. Quaker bot easy, dodging, circle strafe. And I'll show that here. And also I'm going to edit circle strafe so he doesn't jump. No need for that. Alright, so now he's circle strafing, and he's got a delay between whenever I press it and whenever he decides to change directions there. The way this profile works is it's a reactions tab. The reaction is whenever his target, me, is strafing, he's going to oppose me, which is circle strafing. So I'm holding right strafe, he's holding left strafe. Or I can make it, or wait, I'm sorry. No, we're holding the same strafe. So if I'm holding right strafe, he's also holding right strafe, and we're circling around each other. Mimic is he holds the other key. So like, this is a circle strafe, this is strafe with me. So you'll see this, he's doing this. He's got that delay though. So I can go into here, I can change this delay so he immediately notices that I've changed directions. This is just downright creepy whenever you have a target doing this. You ever see somebody doing this in a real game to you? That's kind of scary. But anyway, So I'm going to set that back to normal before I forget. Alright, so now he's circle strafing like he was before. He's got the delay. So circle strafing is a cool thing. You can also make it so there's a reaction. So if he takes too much damage, and if he takes, in this case, 50 damage, 0.5 seconds, and there's a 1 second cooldown, then half the time he's going to ignore it and say, I don't care that I took that much damage. The other half he'll react. So there'll be a delay of 0.125 to 0.25 seconds, and he'll change the direction he's going. But in this case, since it's just a, he's mimicking or opposing what I'm doing, it would kick him out of this dodging profile and go into another dodging profile. So if he was circle strafing me, and I had him set up to also do long strafes, like this, and I'm just going to make this like most of the time he's going to circle strafe me, and 1 time out of 10 he's going to decide to do the other thing. But if I start hitting him a whole bunch, he should decide, no, I don't want to do that. A little hard to show specifically because you can't tell what profile he's in, but yeah, he's going to like decide to mix it up every now and then because I'm shooting him more often. So that's kind of the reactions thing, which I think is a fantastic thing that makes these bots feel a lot more human to shoot at. So some other features that I've added, there's been stuff added. So like I'm a Quaker right now, that's my player profile. So I go under movement, I say has jetpack and aerial jump counts. Now I can jump once in the air, and then I also have a jetpack where if I hold jump, then it does these things, and I can determine the thrust, the max velocity, air control whenever I'm thrusting versus air control whenever I'm not is over here. Like, yeah, same thing basically. So, second, go like this. Lots of neat little things like that just to mimic some things from other games, and you can make it very working. Oh yeah, aerial jump velocity. Normal jump velocity is 800, so aerial is 800. There we go. So now I have a double jump off in a Quake player. And of course you can change that so it acts very differently. You can add more jumps to it, all that fun stuff. So there's also, you may have noticed, abilities here. So there are 5 different abilities that I've got in place right now. Movement abilities are very flexible. You can do stuff from a lot of Overwatch type stuff. So you can do Tracer Blinks, you can do McCree roll, it reloads, you can do a Genji dash, does damage, you can do a Winston type jump, you can do a Pharah type jet jump straight up. Basically, a lot of these are very flexible, and the idea is I want you to be able to do whatever you want with them. So most of the abilities are going to have the same thing where it's charge count, and if it's only 1, then it's just a simple cooldown ability, and charge timer, so how long it takes to regain a charge, whether you gain any on kills, how the cooldown between them. Fully auto means you can hold it and it'll keep doing it automatically. Duration is how long the movement ability does its thing. If you set it to 0, it's an instant burst of movement, and obviously it's going to disable a lot of these things. So like 5. So now that I've done that, it says lock duration or lock direction for duration. So once you press it, it'll keep going in that direction. You know, you can do all sorts of cool things here. You can make it reload the weapon whenever you're doing it. And then there's a hurt box, radius of it, how much damage it does, knockback factors. And then the input here. So whenever you use the ability, should it block this stuff? Should attacking cancel the ability? You know, and AI use. So AI use is consistent between different abilities, and it's always how the bot is going to decide to use these abilities. So you can make it based on in combat, out of combat, air or ground, how often he tries to reuse it, his health ranges that it's okay to use it, target health ranges. These are percentages, so not like a raw 100 health. It's percentage of the max health of the character versus what he has now. Distance ranges, FOV, taking damage would activate it, so you can make it a reaction thing where he gets hit and then he blinks away, or he gets hit, takes too much damage, and he recalls. That stuff. There's the recall ability similar to Tracer and the Project 1v1 phase recall, I think it's called. Some other games kind of have that sort of thing too. And then a weapon ability is you create a weapon profile, but you don't want to just give the player the ability to keep shooting it, so you set it to a cooldown or a number of charges. So this is just a weapon profile. So you make the weapon profile separate, like a stun grenade, and then you give it a cooldown, you give it charges, whatever, you refund on kill if you want, do all that sort of stuff. Or you can also make it take ammo whenever you use it, but it's still something you press the button and it fires it, but it doesn't change your weapon. So that's the weapon ability. Sprint is either you can make it so you press it and it's an instant like buff that lasts and gives you a base movement speed. You can change the directions that it affects. You can make it so you can press it and hold it, you know, stuff like that. So it's kind of a flexible ability as well. There's also something that I added was change to, is it, do I not have it saved here? Alright, so make myself invulnerable here. So Counter-Strike, I'm not a CS player, but I got some nice feedback from friends, and basically what I've done is I've enabled a system that allows you to make something like that. So I'm not moving my mouse, it's just kind of doing that pattern as I fire. And the way I'm actually doing that, weapons here, is under recoil I have I had a checkbox for Per-Shot-Recoil, maybe not, maybe it's just always here. But this is called Per-Shot-Recoil. The idea is you can set the tracking of how closely your crosshair is following to the offset of your aim, how long it takes to get to the peak of each of these, the actual cap of how far it'll go in different directions, how quickly it resets. And then over here, what you have is each shot will have, you know, first shot will have this, second and up and to the right, and negative means to the left. And then you can clone these and move them around and reorder them. And, you know, you can kind of make these sorts of things where, right, it changed me out of the profile, sorry. So the idea is that you'd be able to mimic different weapons. So using that sort of thing, you can come up with that and change to this weapon. It acts a little differently, it has kind of a different spread to it. This weapon acts differently. So I'm, again, not a CS player, but added this feature so that CS players hopefully can get something out of the game as well. So outside of that, I've done a lot under the hood. Something I realized early on is that all these profiles, I was saving them in like the unreal.save format, and it was kind of this binary file you didn't want to edit by hand. And I found out as I added new features and added new variables to these things, then the old format was not compatible. That was bad. I did not want to have that going forward. So I redid all the formats of this. They're actually just like text editable by hand. You can open them up in Notepad. It'll show the variable equals this. So you can edit any of these. Scenarios are the same thing. Scenario file will have like character profile is this, name is this, and then it has all the character variables. And then at the very end of the scenario, it's just the raw map data. So you can edit all this by hand if you want. It is going forward going to be forward compatible. So you make stuff now, future versions will be able to read it, and that's exactly what I want. It took a lot of work, but it was very worth it. Another under the hood thing, but some people appreciate this, is that I've added statistics export. So every time you play, you can make it so it will always spit out all the statistics of your accuracies per weapon and your kill, you know, every kill, how much accuracy you had, damage that was done, all this fun stuff. Or you can make it only do it in scenarios and challenges, or only challenges, or only challenge wins. So like a challenge has a score to win type of thing as well. So that, you know, it's just a CSV file, comma separated, and you can read it in however you want. Excel typically reads these things, so they look like spreadsheets. But if you are a programmer, you can open this up. You can make a program that just like reads these in. And I know one guy that has already started on this sort of thing, and he's kind of reading in all of his new statistics as they come in. I think he's going to be tracking his progress with his own program, which is very cool. So anyway, those are the main features that I'm very proud of over the last year of progress. There have been some great feedback from all my testers. They have really helped me out in getting the direction of this game into a place that I'm happy with it. So anyway, this is FPS Aim Trainer. If you have any questions about it, feel free to leave a comment in there. And thanks so much for watching, guys. Take care.